5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Old School, New School podcast. Per usual, I am Will Charles Egan.
Chris Meekins.
Chris Meekins. And we have our guest preschooler here. George Benitez. We usually call our guests middle schoolers because they tend to be older than me, but this is the first guest that is younger than me, so we figured we'll just call you a preschooler.
But here's the ironic thing. He's younger yet.
Yeah,
He's more mature.
way more put together than I am.
Maybe me too. But
Yeah.
but that's a low bar. We've set a low bar for him.
If we're the standard for what an adult is, then this kid is knocking it out of the park.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've known you for
subscribe.
Yeah, make sure that if you like the content that we're doing, I would like if you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment, maybe share it because
be nice in the comments.
Yeah, hey guys, be nice.
I want to talk to George.
Give us a compliment, right?
Yes.
Because we can ban you. No, I'm kidding. But I've known George here for a couple of years. We both went to Bayside College.
Yes.
Holla. What team are you on?
Blue team.
Blue team. Holla Blue team.
Yeah.
See, I was on the clear team. I never did leadership. I was the odd man out.
Okay, that's another
Yeah, right.
okay
Another little thing
surprise we found out.
Yeah, but I figured when we started this podcast, a lot of people would be like, I want to be on it, I want to be on it, I want to be on it. And then there was this guy he had a very unique way of saying it. He wasn't like, please, I want to be on your podcast. He's like, that's a really cool podcast. And he started, as you say, blowing smoke up my skirt. And I was like, oh, well, thanks. I know I have a good podcast.
I know.
And then from that, I was like,
amazing.
do you want to be on the podcast? And I don't know if you were playing mind games with me to get on the podcast, but it worked because here you are.
These droids are not the ones you're
I'm an
looking for.
avid podcast listener.
Oh, you do?
Especially at work.
Yep.
And I do enjoy your guys' podcast, but, you know.
Thank you.
Well, let's jump into this. So Will was telling me that how old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay.
That's crazy. Yeah. You are 19 and you are getting married in November.
Yes, sir.
This guy is going to be married at 20 years old. This is I think the quintessential Bible college stereotype.
Okay, wait a minute. Is she older or younger than you?
She is older by 2 months, though. So she's
okay.
Okay,
She's not a, what do they call those?
Cougar.
She's not rocking the cradle.
Yeah, she's 19 and a half. She's a total cougar.
I like calling her a cougar. It does make her upset, but
No, you're not. Okay, sorry. What's her name?
Ellie.
Ellie, sorry, Ellie.
Sorry, Ellie, if you're listening.
My dad calls me old school in that way. That I got married young.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
How old were your parents when they got married?
let me think. My dad was probably 25, 26.
Okay. Okay.
Sounds about the right age.
Yeah.
And then also you have your own business, this is like crazy stuff. He's 19 years old. He's going to get married, and you have your own business.
Yeah.
Doing what?
So I currently do pool cleaning, maintenance, and repair down in Venice. Something that her father helped me start, got me into it, and I currently operate it now. And soon, in a couple of years, in a couple of months, I'll be owning it. So I did a deal with him and did a kind of creative financing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This guy.
And so you're going to college still.
Yep.
And what are you studying at college?
So I'm studying my undergrad in pastoral care and counseling, and then I want to do my master's in divinity. So there's an accelerator program. So one year after my undergrad, I get my master's.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a cool. It sounds like a wizard or something. I have a master of divinity.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna try to minor in global business management, just to have that under my belt.
It would probably help with a business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think very psychology minded. That's where the counseling comes in. I love theology. I love learning theology in class. And then business, it's just recently it's been something that has been God's put people in my place, and just a fascination with it. So yeah.
Yeah. I think what we're learning about this kid is like he said, this is a very old school way of doing it. I mean, how old were you when you got married, Chris?
I was 22.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
well,
so
I need to get my life together here, is what I'm hearing.
I think Joyce was 21 and I was 22. But, it was a different world back then.
Right, yeah.
I was like, well, we like each other,
Uh-huh.
and you're not going to move in with me, so I guess we
should
might
probably
as well get
get
married.
married.
Yeah.
What do you think?
And seeing you're pregnant, it might work out well.
What do you think's changed since then? Right.
Sorry, Joyce.
Yeah. What do you think's changed since then? That now I think that what the average age has certainly gone up in terms of getting married.
Yeah, we were talking about that right beforehand. I mean, you were born. Obviously, you're not Irish.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm definitely not Irish.
I come from a long line of potato farmers.
Yeah.
Noble trade.
Where do your family come from?
So my father's from Argentina, and my mom's from Paraguay, but they immigrated to the U.S. My mom actually immigrated before to Europe. She had opportunity. She lived in Switzerland, Belgium. We have some family in Switzerland.
Okay.
And then she moved to the U.S. after. And then my dad, he was in college in Paraguay studying computer science. And his last semester of college, he quit because he hated computers. But he is very, he's an electrician still now by trade, but he's very engineer minded. And
Yeah. There's people that just think that way.
He walks into a building and he's just like, yep. And I'm like,
X-ray
okay.
vision.
Yeah, he's
what do
like,
you see that I don't see?
We could rewire this. Just give me 2 hours and we can do that. But more, how did you? Okay, I mean, because we think most of our people are younger people, and how did you become so determined in your life plan? It sounds like you have like a life plan. Do you?
Yeah, I think my parents are a big part of it. I kind of
You don't hate them.
Oh no, they
Okay. You don't have daddy issues.
no,
Right?
they are great mentors. My dad disciplined me very well as a kid.
Nice.
Okay.
You mean like belt, or as in like he raised
Mental.
you well?
He both.
Okay, well, good.
My brother was more. Oh, we talked about. He's a meathead.
Yeah.
But he got hit more, and I learned.
Sorry, brother.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, girlfriend. Fiance.
So I learned that I need a
Yes.
But what drove me? They met in New York, but they worked hard and they got to this middle class place where I could be able to learn and have friends and not be in this poor area where I could actually have opportunities. But what drove me now is I kind of think my parents at my age already took a risk, and they always told me take risks, take risk. You're young. God always will provide.
I love it.
My mom at 18 moved to Europe and went away from her family to start something. And my dad moved away from his family. And what am I doing here in the U.S.? I'm in this land. I think part of it too is I have a half brother in Argentina right now.
Okay.
And we went to go visit him recently, and I realized one step my parents could have taken, I couldn't have been here.
Yeah.
And I could have had a different life. So I might as well be here and take risks, and advance. And I know God will be with me because I know that
Yeah.
He'll be doing my will.
I think what's
I'm
really
doing his will.
yes. I think what is important to note about your situation is the importance of like a strong nuclear family.
Yeah.
I mean, it says in Proverbs. My roommate talks about this all the time because he's in a similar position of you. Is a very strong concept of the the healthy family. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. It's like, well, why? Well, the Lord blessed from the very beginning of creation the institution of marriage. I mean, that was what the whole point of existing was for humans in the beginning. It was to tend to the garden, tend to the plants, name the animals and things, name the plants, and be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the creation, I like to think that when they were divvying up the work at the very beginning, Adam and Eve were like, okay, we have to name the animals. And then they kind of split off, and Eve started, this is a poinsettia. This is an orchid. And then Adam comes back, and he's like, this is an orange because it's orange. And I named this bug a fly because it flies. And Eve was like, I'll just take the rest. You're being an idiot.
Yeah.
And from the very beginning, the men were the idiots and the women were the smart ones. And I think that's just how it is. But when you have such...
Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a good illustration. I envisioned it like a movie scene. That's
Yeah,
all.
well, thank you guys. I just wanted to set the scene. But when it comes to how we were told to be fruitful and multiply. We were talking about this earlier, that like if a family is to truly be successful in multiplying, they need to, at the very least, if they want to break even, they need to have 2 kids that go out into the world, because there's 2 people coming together and making 2 kids. And if you want to have an actual multiplication, you want to keep going, you need to have a minimum of 3 kids. Would you say 2.27?
Something like that.
Which, yeah, it's kind of hard to have
sure I made that
0.27
up.
of a kid. But you need to have 3 kids. And you look at the culture now and all of us youngins that are like, well, you know, having
It's
kids is a
kinda-
lot. I don't know if maybe I'll have 2 kids. I mean, I've said it myself. It's like, when I get married, I think 2 kids will be enough. Cause
I think people
it's a
have
handful.
always thought that. It's just that years ago they didn't have birth control.
Yeah,
And
that is true.
and a
a
lot
very
of
good
people
point.
were Catholic, and they were like, well,
Yeah.
the priest said I can't use birth control, so and
I
I'm
need
not going to,
contraception.
and I
Yeah.
know, you know, I'm not going to give up doing the hibbity jibbity. So
Right.
So I guess we're going to have 7 or 8 kids.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's just what happened.
And, anyway, so let's get back to George.
It's not about us, Chris.
I
It's
know.
about George.
I saw a study it was somewhere out of Sacramento where they said that to have 2 kids it would cost something like $300,000 per kid throughout like their. When it's just, I think that's just when numbers get that big, it's not reality.
just
We
don't
decided
think
to
about
have
it.
number 3 and number 4 because we were already poor.
Yeah,
You know,
this
you're already
point.
poor. We might as well just stay that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Why get our money back and get some money in the bank and then have 2 more, and then you
Yeah.
end up going, oh, we're poor again.
Yep. Here we
So you might
go.
as well just stay poor. Anyway, so you're getting married, right? So when you getting married?
so we're getting married in November.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's baller.
yeah.
So and is she a believer? Or?
She is. She grew up in a family of missionaries. So she lived in Romania and
They're
Egypt.
deep
Yeah.
people.
Deep stuff right here.
Yeah,
Romania and Egypt, you said?
Yeah,
Cool.
she was very little when they lived in Romania, but then she lived in Egypt for 6 years.
Were these work visas, travel visas or something? Do you know?
Work
they
visas.
citizen? Okay.
Work visas. Yeah, it's funny because obviously I'm a brown skinned, and I
Really?
I would talk.
Wait a minute.
People
Color,
were
wait a
just
minute.
listening.
Okay, I see it now.
but
me show you.
but I would tell her about like, oh, I got discriminated in school when I was younger, and she was like, in Egypt they threw rocks at me because I was white,
Really?
and I'm like, okay, well you
you win.
you got it worse.
You win.
Fair enough.
You win.
For being white, ironically enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
you win.
she
Well, in Egypt, you know.
Yeah.
so she is redhead as well too, but yeah, it runs in her family.
Couldn't be me.
So you're both believers.
Yes.
And you're going to college. I mean, I find it fascinating to talk to someone your age that has his life planned out. And so we talked about the foundation. It came from your mom and dad. They were strong Christians.
Yeah, we grew up Catholic, and then when I was 12, we moved to a Baptist / non-denominational church.
Okay.
There was stuff that happened at our Catholic church that my parents did not like, so we moved. We knew it wasn't God's fault; it was people.
Yeah.
So we found a church that was like our family.
Cool.
Nice.
That's
Small
awesome.
church, 50 people. Yeah.
And so, what made you decide to follow Christ? I mean, you had to make that decision on your own.
Yeah, I did get baptized. I chose to. I remember my parents put me in service. We always were in mass in Catholic church, so
Yeah.
I felt like my church knowledge was very high. I was very attentive to the priest and everything. I still have a great reverence toward liturgical services.
Oh, yeah.
Orthodoxy. But they put me in service, and I would just absorb it like a sponge.
Right.
I loved listening to Bible and theology.
Okay.
And I went up to a pastor. There was a pastor that came down came up from Arkansas for like a missionary trip to help our church out, VBS. And I said, I want to accept Christ as my Lord and Savior. I understood that there was a message that he preached that said, you have to let Jesus in and sit in the throne of your heart. And I still remember that now.
Yeah.
Like sometimes we have to get off that throne and sit on that. And I wanted Jesus to be my Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
My own. So I asked him, and he went through the whole thing, told me what it meant. You know, that was proclamation of my faith
Right.
to the public. And I went through, and my brother actually was right behind me.
Let's go.
Maybe because of my influence on him.
You lead a good
But
example.
He got baptized with me.
Nice.
So
Now, were you in the church, going through the steps before you had gotten baptized and all this for some time?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
See,
in the church.
That is a trend I'm noticing a lot with Christians is they'll go through the steps, they'll go through the motions. It says, yeah, I'm a Christian, whatever, yada, yada. And then something switches. Like we had Chase King on the podcast where they make the decision for themselves because it's not just, well, my dad does this, my mom does this, and I get brought along.
It's my DNA.
Exactly. Like for me, I was kind
My
of
destiny.
right. Exactly. I was bound to do this. I was the total opposite. I church hopped a lot as a kid. It was the Catholic Church one weekend up in Tampa, and then it was Presbyterian, then it was Pentecostal, then it was the Shrine of the Master, which is this weird
Shrine of the Master.
Oh, dude, it was crazy. It was this weird divinity center where they would hover their hands over your head and your shoulders, and they would do healing services, and we would do the candlelight rock crystal Jesus and Allah and Buddha services, where it was like all roads lead to heaven, weird stuff, Unitarian Universalist, and so for me, and it was kind of like your situation. It's like God is this thing, and it's I guess He's out there, and I kind of believe whatever. But I went to Bayside, and then you make the decision for yourself, where you're finally like, oh, I get it now.
I would tell the guys at the fire station, I'd say, you guys are the religion. I'm not pouncing on any religion. You guys are the religion you are, which in Cleveland, everybody's Catholic.
In Catholic,
Yeah.
I'm like, you're Catholic because your mom told you you're Catholic.
Yes.
I go to this church because I chose to. And they'd get really mad at me. But I'm like, well, it's true. I'm like,
the truth.
did you decide? And I think that's where we're kind of going with this. You decided that you wanted to follow.
Yeah, I decided that I did want to follow in Christ, and I feel like now knowing my whole past in retrospect, in a way, the Holy Spirit was always with me.
Yeah. Well, he is.
Like through everything with moving down to Florida, me kind of going deeper into my faith, realizing, oh, maybe I don't want to do engineering like my dad.
Right. Yeah.
I love theology and I love caring for people.
So is that why you decided theology as your major? So you're going to college. You're going to Bayside College.
Yep.
And your major is that
Yeah,
Major, minor.
major time?
Yeah. In high school, I was trying to think like all high schoolers, what do I do? I need to know what I have to do.
I gotta have an answer.
I need an answer.
I need an
Grandpa keeps
answer.
asking me every time I go over for Thanksgiving, what do you want to do when you get older?
That's what they told me. I said, what is the one thing that I shouldn't be asking high schoolers when I was telling them high schoolers? I said, please don't ask me what college are you going to and what is going to be your major. Just don't do it because everybody asks that. Go ahead.
Once you're after that, once you're after college, it does not matter. It really
it
doesn't.
doesn't matter.
Couldn't care less.
But
I got nothing to say to Will anymore now that he has a major in psychology.
I'm analyzing you as we speak.
So what made you decide? So you decided.
So I was trying to
theology.
find out what I loved to do. I thought engineering would be. I love since my dad's an electrician, I'm like, oh, let me be an electrical engineer.
Right.
I'm very like my dad in that way. But I took 4 math classes that year, and it was. I learned that you had to love math to be an engineer. I did not love math.
Oh, been there.
Right.
But I loving people, having relationships with people, talking to people, caring.
Yep.
And I realized, I love the Bible, learning theology. There's something to it. It's like a lot of men think literature nowadays is very feminized, but you go back in time and it's always been these strong men in history that are super smart.
And you don't mean
things
strong
forward.
men as in like a carpenter. You mean strong men in who they were. Right?
Yeah, strong men, strong-minded men.
Yeah.
Who
I
push the
love it.
narrative.
Strong-minded men.
Yeah, who pushed the narrative forward in society that helped where we are now, that canonized the Bible.
Yep.
That put doctrine together for us so we can be where we are in our spiritual life.
Yeah.
So,
Where would we be?
I've
without
never
them?
taken notes before.
You're taking notes
I'm
from.
like, this is
Wow.
like amazing.
I feel honored.
He's taking notes from what you're saying. Yeah. Well, you have to.
I want to throw it in your face later on.
Yeah.
But no,
Are any of these right? Do these look right? You got to find, like, when I was in high school, when I was in your position, it was trying to figure out what I want to do. You got to decide, what do you love to do?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, you figure out what you love to do first, and then it's like, well, how is that going to pay the bills?
Right.
Because you can't just, well, how is this going to pay the bills? And I guess I'll kind of cram myself into it until I figure out how I'm going to like it. Because
Yeah.
then you're going to want to die
Yeah.
10 years down the road in this career that you hate, and it's not fulfilling, and you're not doing what God's called you to do.
Exactly.
Do you think it bounces off the fact that your parents told you just go for it?
Yeah.
And like take the risk. Is that the words?
I think that's the main factor. Growing up too, they told me that they wouldn't be able to pay for my college because we were very struggling. Like my parents went through it. They were illegal at one point, and they were undocumented in the U.S. at one point. So it was a very scary time where my parents could have been deported, and I couldn't. I would be stuck in the U.S. with relatives, and not know where my parents were.
Right.
But they thankfully pushed through and got papers.
Let's go.
But they wanted me to have a second education.
Yeah.
And they wanted us to do what we loved. They saw the world, and they knew that they didn't want us in the rat race, especially in New York. It is a rat race.
Yes.
Oh yeah. And
So-
that was
Literally.
a couple of years ago. It's even worse now.
Oh, it's even worse now. Yeah.
I mean, there's literally. I mean, if were you New York City, or were you like
No,
upstate?
I was I grew up in Long Island, so
okay.
I was right outside the city.
Yep.
I mean, we went in and out of Queens.
I mean,
so
that's-
you were
We
literally,
basically grew up in Queens. So.
You were literally in the rat race, as in like rats running around everywhere.
Yeah.
49 other states. There's Manhattan, Long Island. It's New York City. It's all
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah.
New Jersey. It's all.
It's all
You
part
want
of
to
New
insult a New Yorker? Oh, you're from New Jersey, right? And they're like,
Man.
no. That's
How
a
dare
whole-
you.
Right?
I would never be from New Jersey.
they hate each other. It's weird.
Sorry for our homeschoolers and our people from New Jersey.
It's just dirty. No.
No.
Well, it's an old community. I mean, it's been around since
Yeah.
the beginning of the
Time.
country.
Yeah. We brought my fiance over the summer to see our family, and she's from South Dakota originally.
Oh my
Oh
God!
my! We're talking about polar opposites. Jeez.
Yeah, but and Illinois as well too. But she lived in the suburbs of Illinois. But
Okay.
we went to the different towns, and it's like 15 minutes you're in a new town in New York. 15,
Right.
Like it's just like new town, Italian, Greek.
Yes.
And it's like
Yeah.
that's where we grew up.
It's a whole experience. We went
yeah.
to Nyack College. We brought my son to Nyack to check it out. It was the Christian Missionary Alliance College.
Yeah.
And I mean, by the time we got to the campus, we were like, okay, we can turn around. We
Yeah.
don't even need to get out of the car. And I don't think we did, just because it was different. We grew up in the suburbs. So,
Yeah. But it was great. There was a lot of diversity. I had Asian friends, Jewish friends, Muslim friends. I actually, when I first got baptized, I had a couple of Muslim friends. I would like try to convert them and tell
yeah?
them.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
Did you guys read the Bible? I wasn't knowledgeable. Like I didn't watch Ravi Zacharias and apologetics.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't do that yet. But I would try. I was like, guys, you need to read this, and they're all laugh at me. But I was like, okay,
Right.
you know,
Whatever.
They already laugh at me.
So, have you always had a desire to be with God or be in God's Word? And
Yeah, maybe because I was baptized as a kid, you know, in the Catholic Church. No, I'm joking. But
That's how that works. They sprinkle you. And
my mom always brought us to church. We're altar boys as well too.
Oh, okay.
Me and my brother were probably the worst altar boys of all time.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'd be like ringing the bell like 4 times, even though it's 3, and then laughing in the background. And the priest is like, "Where's the wine at?" And we're just. But through all our adversity, we've always felt God with us. We've been in some challenging situation, and I always went to God for that.
Isn't it interesting that he says adversity throughout adversity? We hate adversity.
Yeah.
We're like, oh my God, God's not with me.
Yes.
Because I'm having a difficult time today. There's another side to adversity.
Oh yeah. Well, I was thinking about this last night.
Because you're in the middle of adversity.
You could say that. Well, it's not like what he's been experiencing, but you could say it's a form of adversity. 'Cause I was thinking-
Lightweight.
Yeah, very much
Is
so.
it your housemate or roommate?
Roommate, yeah. My adversity is like figuring out rent.
Oh, wait a minute. No, we know about his adversity. We heard about it right before the podcast. On the plugs, there's a little night light on it, and it's automatic.
At night, the lights are too bright, and I have to turn off the lights so I can get some
I
sleep.
need dark.
Yeah, no, that's so exactly.
But isn't it funny?
You put my
that's-
perspective, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I was journaling last night, and it was talking about this day was great. My day was awesome. I did all these great things. I'm going to be a part of a wedding this week, and I'm going to go watch my favorite movie at the end of the week, and then I'm going to have this big reunion with my church family. I was like, this is going to be great. God, this is so great. And then I was like, oh, wait, hang on. Let me make sure that I finish the journal with the Lord is good. Because when you have things going well for you, you kind of lose the perspective. It's like, okay, cool. Thank you, God. I'm going to go now because I'm good, and I'll come back when I need you.
Yeah.
And I had to think, well, it's like, well, I'm going to praise God. Because when I'm in the valley, I'm praying every single day. I'm reading the Bible every day. I'm figuring out how I get out of this valley, and I press into God. But when I'm out of the valley and I'm walking through life and life is great, I just kind of yada, 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 forget about that because life is good and I don't really need God right now. But it's like, well, hang on. Let me make sure that I still center myself because I started reading my Bible in the morning instead of before bed. What a novel concept, right?
Go figure.
Yeah.
Start off with
And life,
God.
Best
life
thing
has
ever.
been getting so much better now that I started to, I don't know why I didn't do it earlier, but now that life is going good, I have to continue to abide in him, remain in him, because when things are bad, you trust in God, but when things are good, you still trust in God, despite
Right.
what
Well,
happens.
God can be good to you. God draws you to Himself through His blessing. Remember when they were given so much to the offering for the temple that they're like, stop, don't give anymore. I mean, that's
Right.
God's fullness.
Yeah.
So anyway, so how do you get through adversity? And obviously you actually like adversity.
Yeah, I mean, I think I lean towards it because what I've seen through my life is that there's so much more to it after. Like, there's so much rewards to it after that. It's worth it.
Okay.
But
And how do you get through it? I mean, do you push into God or is it
Do you drink more yerba mate? I mean,
Yeah,
what does
you
it
got-
take?
what-
I mean, is it?
one, I think this is something that God taught me recently. The story of the brazen serpent in Exodus.
Yeah.
The snake bites the people's legs because the Israelites were being disobedient, and they had this fear of dying. But God gave them a staff to Moses with the serpent and said, if you look at this, you'll be healed. Saying that if you trust in God, look into your worst fears. That's where God is, and He will heal you.
Okay, Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
the main thing I got from. He talks about that a lot, and it correlates to the cross as well too. And that really stuck with me, because although it sounds great what I'm doing in my life, it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of.
yeah.
I've probably had the most stress in my life right now. But it pushes me to be a better man.
We just had a message a couple weeks ago at Bayside about how you put yourself in a position, and it helped me. You put yourself in a position to say, "Okay, I'm going to need you to do this." God,
Right.
first of all, I think you're calling me to do this, but I'm going to step into it. Is like what you're saying,
Yeah,
and you're going to look to God
yeah,
Yeah.
because He has the healing answer. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. And because I know life is hard. My parents raised me wanting me to know life is going to be hard.
Right.
Might as well have control where you take those risks than where other people give you those risks.
Okay.
You know, where it's given to you, where you don't want, where it ends up in a bad situation where you can't control it. You know, so I wanted to. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it weren't for God telling me, you know, calling me to where it is.
Yeah. I kind of want to pivot just slightly, build off of what you said about, your parents telling you that life is going to be hard. Have you talked about, obviously you guys aren't even married yet, you and your fiance, have you talked about having kids and raising kids? Is that like pretty soon, or is that farther down the line?
Yeah. At first, she actually didn't want to have biological kids because she
Okay.
was scared.
Yeah.
Because of family situations. But we've talked through it, and God has really worked with her.
That's
on
awesome.
Conquering that kind of fear in a way.
So when you raise kids, do you think it's because you're in a position where you're going to be successful? Do you want to shelter them, or is it like, should we throw them to the wolves, or is there a happy medium? How do we, because you want to
great
give the child some form of adversity, right? But you don't want it to just be artificial, like, all right.
I'll show you adversity. No.
but we do want kids now, and I think I don't want to. I probably want late. I am 20 now.
Sure, yeah.
God willing, I'd probably want 25, 20 around there to 28 for my first
Children?
kid. Yeah.
You want 28 children.
No. I want to be 25 to 28 when I have my first kid. I think.
I want to have 28
Okay.
children.
I know
hope
you
you're
need
ready.
to push into God.
I hope she's ready.
That is.
That's pushing it.
No, we
We're
probably
going to have a small compound in Texas.
we probably want like 2
Sorry
to
if
3
you had to
kids.
say. Yes.
Yeah. We probably want like 2 to 3 or
Yeah.
2 to 3 kids around
There you
there.
go.
But I think also what I've researched a lot too is there's a lot greater risk health wise to women if you wait longer.
Yes.
And that's a big effect.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, do you want to basically put your kids?
Right.
How do you want to discipline them basically? And I mean, I'm not knowledgeable about that yet.
Yeah,
I've
sure,
only done
yeah.
research.
Yeah, I don't know about that part.
Yeah.
You'll be lucky to make it to the right. I'm
Yeah, to
going to
the
be
other
happy to
side.
get to the altar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Let's work on that.
Yes.
But from what I learned so far, I think there is probably, like Jordan Breon, there's probably tension in between. Maybe it's just an artificial environment. If they do live in a like rich environment, you probably want to put them in an artificial environment where they have to learn.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Because I look at the kids that were raised in like the plushy existence, and it's like, I feel bad for them.
Yeah.
I truly believe that the lessons that really stick with you are the adversity. I mean, you just look at all of Psalms, and it's just suffering, right? It's just David crying out to God, because that's where you lean on God. Overall, I mean, despite the little lessons that you learn, or like, how to fix a wound, or how to do these little things, when you are in those adverse places, you have to lean on God the most. You got to cry out to him. And I just feel for those who haven't experienced that, because then it's like, I said there's this TikTok of this girl she has these just like comically long nails, and she's trying to pick up her student ID, and she can't do it. And then she flips the camera around, and she is sobbing. That's like,
That's whack.
that is so indicative of a larger problem.
That's like our culture in the
Yes,
video.
exactly. It's literally, and she is crying because her long bedazzled claws
That she paid for,
that
or
she paid
maybe
for,
somebody else paid
somebody
for
else
her.
paid for. She cannot pick up her student ID, and that's the end of the world.
So I'm going to do our homeschool talk.
Okay.
But there are adversities that people that are well-to-do have. It's a different kind of adversity.
Yes.
And it's a different kind. We talked about it last week. We talked about it a lot about the war of art.
Oh yeah, the War of
Did you
Art.
ever read the book, The War of Art?
I've by Shen Tzu.
No, that's the Art of War.
The Art of War.
This is yes, very good.
But
And it's about
I've
pushing
never
through the opposite, not opposite.
Resistance.
Resistance.
Yeah.
Pushing through resistance. And I see you as a person that has spent their life saying, okay, I want to push through resistance. And then, so let's move on to your job. So you are buying this company from your father-in-law?
Yeah.
Or future father-in-law?
Yep. I am buying it off of him.
Okay, and
Baller.
And what made you decide to do that instead of just going getting a job making $3.35 an hour?
Right.
Well,
That was minimum wage when I was a kid.
one, flexibility to do what I want to do
Okay.
in the future, and seeing what he's doing and being able to provide. I mean, when I first started dating her, he took me in and kind of taught me the ropes, and then I knew I wanted to marry her.
Did that not scare you though? Just like, okay, I'm 19 or 18 when you
Yeah.
started. I'm starting this business.
I think it gave me kind of it didn't scare me. I think it was. I know working for your girlfriend's dad is kind of scary in a way.
It can be.
Is he tall? Is he a big?
No,
Irish
he's
guy.
about my size. He's
Okay, so you could take him if you could take him.
he says he's Scandinavian.
Okay.
Well, maybe not.
But he's probably more German than he
Vikings.
is.
Oh yeah, you're not
But-
going to take him. Yeah.
But he's just like my dad in a way where it's very tough, but he means it in a good way to
Yeah.
teach you a lesson, to help you out, and very loving guy.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
but yeah, it gave me a sense of purpose where I can be in relationship with my customers and help them out because most of them are elderly as well too.
And what do you describe as elderly?
What's
the age?
Be careful what you say.
Yeah, probably like late 70s to 80s.
Okay, all right, you're good.
You're good, Chris.
Chris is very young, guys.
Yes, he's good.
But yeah, and it kind of exposed me to the world of Christian business.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
That's awesome.
Where it gave me, I wasn't scared. It gave me a new light of possibilities of where I can take things in my life.
Yeah.
And you can't depend on the man. You got to depend on you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a lesson right there.
Yeah.
Heck.
And their story is they came back from missionary life. They had no money, and they moved to Florida, and he started the pool business, kind of just to make ends meet.
Okay.
And God just kept blessing him. It started with it's like the parable of the talents. It started with one laundromat, and then continued with the second one, and then they had relationships with other laundromat people, and they wanted to come out, and they were Christians as well too, and God blessed him with a couple now too. So it is a blessing.
a lot going on.
And
I
that was in a span of probably like 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah, it's not get rich quick.
No,
That's the thing with
that's the main thing I've learned a lot. You know,
That ain't happening.
it's not gonna happen.
it's a concrete method, and you got to put your head down and work, and it's not get quick rich because it ends quick too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you think that the lesson you learned from them also is that they were obedient to be missionaries, and then as God closed that door, obviously God closed the door because they're here in Florida, that you learned that too from them, that God will provide, and
Yeah,
if you
From
do
both
you
ends,
do your
yeah.
part.
yeah, from both like my parents and her parents too. I think that's the main reason why, or the way God showed me why I wanted, or why she will be my wife, is how well our families mix as well too. Because her dad first was an electrician, and my dad's an electrician. Her mom was a teacher, and my mom is a teacher aide, but works in the schools. But knowing that both of them teaching me and her that God will provide no matter what was a main factor as well too. Like seeing that visually, how God provided. Because a lot of people in the church talk about God will provide, and it's a pretty easy middle class life.
All right. Show up to work,
Yeah.
Clock in.
enjoy the weekend.
Yeah.
Clock out. Enjoy the
But
weekend.
when you put your whole house on sale and move to Romania and Egypt, and with your young kids to do God's work and come back with nothing, and God blesses you for your work.
Yeah, and He
So
shows you
can bless
favor. He
others.
shows you favor.
He shows you favor.
Let's bring it back to me. Okay, no.
As we usually do. Yeah, it's all about Chris.
One of the things, I have a son that's a pastor in Santa Monica. And, my mind is like, why don't you just come here to Florida where all the Christians are, and you can start a church here. But he's like, no, God's called me to Santa Monica,
Yeah.
to which is, just outside of Los Angeles. And so Santa Monica, did you ever watch South Park?
Yeah.
Remember that one where they get rid of all the homeless in
Yeah.
Denver? They
They
send
sent him to Santa Monica.
Wow.
It's really funny,
Yeah.
but it's a true. That's what I love about South Park.
That is the spear tip of the culture war, I think, is
Yeah.
South Park. They're the only ones that can still do it.
You still do it and get away with it.
Yeah.
Now there's some where you go, okay, shut that
stop
off.
it.
Stop it. It's turned to jail.
Too far a line.
Yeah,
Too far of a line.
But all that said is that when he went there, I'm like, it would be a lot easier to go here. You've got your doctor in theology,
people.
and but God blessed his wife with a really good job, and then she's done the work to get even more promoted, and they're doing really well. Yeah. He's able to build a church there in a place where they don't really want God.
Right.
They don't want that, and there's the homeless, and there's the super rich in Santa Monica.
It's total opposite.
And so God blesses obedience. Would you not say that?
Oh, he does. He does. Yeah, and I bet your son has gone through challenges where you're like stressing and worrying and you can't sleep. Where you're like, I pray for my son's safety.
Oh yeah, I walk around and I'm like, Lord, could you just have Randy listen to his message and call him up and ask him to come to work?
Yeah. It's not about being easy.
It's not about me,
right?
And see my granddaughter. It's about right.
Yeah.
And so I have to change that. So and I think for me, God has shown from obedience that He's blessed our life, and so. Go back to the whole being obedient and being blessed. As we're talking to people your age, what would you say to them, and how you make sure that you continue to be obedient? What does that look like? Will talked about is having a quiet time in the morning.
Yeah, simple little
change
things.
Everything. What about you?
Yeah, gratitude is like thankfulness to the Lord is number one, because I can sin, I can be in a good standing with the Lord in my mind. But if I'm not thankful for what He's done, it kind of, because it's all about Him and who He is.
Okay.
Right.
When I drive from Bradenton all the way to Venice for work, and I get in this tunnel vision of, when's the day where I can only work one job, Like I feel like I'm unhappy in a way. Well, I am happy, but I get stuck in this mindset where it's all gray.
Yeah.
But I have to take myself out of that. So went to the beach recently, and I'm like, I live in a beautiful place.
Yeah. We take for granted that we live in paradise.
Yeah. Yes. But obviously, quiet time with the Lord. Not the best at it always, for granted. But that and community. Being with people that are Christ-centered and just it's family,
Oh, that's so important.
and they encourage you. I'm in a group of guys that struggle with pornography. That's been something I've struggled with most of my life as a kid. But
Oh, wait a minute. We got another guy that's not perfect.
yeah,
Oh, wow. What do you know?
Oh my God.
But-
Right.
Press down. No.
but we just are vulnerable and come together, and that is what God blesses, and we confess to each other, and He has helped us conquer that.
Okay, so you got this amazing life from a 19-year-old's perspective.
Right.
You got your own business. You got a future fiance. You got a father that loves you, a mother that's empowering you, and a future in-laws are empowering. Yet you're not perfect. You struggle with sin just like everyone else.
Yeah.
And so we live in a world that everybody thinks, like you're always talking, the people that are on TikTok
Yeah.
that project this image.
Yeah, it's a false image of reality and what their life actually is. They put out the best stuff first, but that's not. Behind the scenes, it's like everybody else.
It's crap.
It's everybody else.
Yeah.
And so, but God, you still believe that in spite of your, we'll just call it for what it is, your addiction, that He can still bless you as you push forward? Because I want the people to hear this.
Yeah, there's a popular podcaster, Tim Ross, that I listen to, and he said, "What would you tell your younger self?" And he said, "Tell your mom and dad about your sexual abuse." He said, "I wouldn't tell him to stop pornography because the root of it was the sexual abuse that happened to you."
Okay.
And I think God wants us to know our hearts and why we do stuff for Him through our hearts.
Okay.
And it's not what comes out of ourselves. What am I trying to get to? I think I'm brain farting.
All the time.
But God, there's a verse, Proverbs 16:2. Men do everything in their own way, and they think it's pure. But God weighs our spirits.
Wow.
And if we commit our ways to the Lord, He will establish our plans.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Bing.
I know that verse.
Yeah. But the reality is, I journal a lot too.
Nice. Same here.
Like St. Augustine, if in his book Confessions, it shows the authenticity of confessing everything to the Lord.
Okay. Right.
Because obviously He knows everything we're thinking about, so why not just say it? If I'm lusting over this woman on the internet,
right?
Why not just say it?
Why not just say it, and He's gonna forgive us and give us a pure heart.
Obviously, your fiance knows this too, right?
Oh yeah. When we first started dating, I told her everything.
Okay.
Because I knew if I wasn't real about this,
Yeah, tell the truth.
I have to tell the truth, and that's a big step of growing. If you're struggling with that, is
Huge.
is telling the truth, and she keeps me accountable. There's times where we've had some, I've failed and messed up, and it's hard in our relationship,
yeah.
and she knows that I looked at other women and did something,
Yeah.
and it's basically cheating. It's adultery of the heart.
Yeah.
And
Pretty heavy stuff.
Wow.
That's real.
And we have to get, I have to go to the Lord, and the only reason why this has worked out and I'm going to marry her is because of Christ. He's His redeeming power.
Yeah. And I think that, from being in relationship, I've been married for 44 years, just saying. And I was a piece of crap. Yeah. It's worked out well for me. She got the short end of the stick. But throughout your marriage, throughout your life, you have to learn to be in community. Okay, first of all, you're a small group.
Yeah, small groups, community is very
And
important.
you just recently went back to helping with the junior high kids because it's about being part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, when you serve with something that's bigger than yourself, it's the most life-giving thing because it's selflessness. You can't just, I'm going to take this time off for me and I'm going to do it for me. It's like, well, what are you pouring out, right?
And when you're given a message, you're basically exposing yourself.
Yeah. Oh, man, when you have to bring it to the light. I think ultimately with all of this, with your suffering and with... Because I was listening to Jordan Peterson live. I went to one of his lectures, and
I did as well.
Yeah, I know you did. Yeah. And it actually still sticks with me. I didn't take notes or anything, but
Never heard of him.
I can't believe you don't know who this guy is. He's literally the best. You should, now that we've talked about him all the time. But he gave his lecture about one of his chapters in his new book, Leave Nothing in the Fog. I think ultimately it's you tell the truth, tell the truth, tell the truth. You never leave anything in shadow, or you never hide anything, because what is it going to do when it festers inside of you, right? You have to bring it to the light. And man, especially when you're giving a lecture in front of middle schoolers, that light shines bright. I mean, you are front and center, and when the light of the Lord shines on you, that light is a purifying, cleansing light that will pull things out of you that you didn't even know were there sometimes. Oh, yeah. That is a spotlight that is where, you understand the term fear of the Lord. And I think that is something that you have to be comfortable with. When you get comfortable with being uncomfortable and you give yourself up, you let the Lord flow through you, that it's not about you, it's about being selfless. This whole life isn't about me, it's about Jesus Christ. When you finally understand that, that's when you find your true freedom. And I think that's how you can be as successful as this young chap right here.
I've only started.
Right, exactly.
We've only just begun.
I say this a lot. It's like I describe my life, and it sounds really cool. I write a book, and I have this podcast, but it's like I am still on the tarmac. The plane has not taken off yet.
Wait a minute. You're not in the plane yet. No.
Not even on the plane. We're still in gate B, waiting for the plane to get into the,
And I think we always fantasize of where we want to be.
Yes.
And that's a main thing I'm learning right now too, is enjoy right now.
Yeah.
Enjoy being engaged. 19.
Yeah, you're still a teenager technically.
First starting a business.
Yeah. Enjoy it.
And I have aspirations of I want to start this. I want to be finances always are scary for people. That's a big thing. And I'm when is numbers going to stop? It's never going to stop.
And the thing about it is you're not trying to be somebody. That's what I'm hearing. You're not trying to be somebody. You're just being who you are.
Yeah.
And it's really cool that's happening. Am I allowed to say cool? Is that like
It's pretty hip, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool, man. It's pretty bogus. Remember? Do you ever hear bogus?
Dude, what are you even talking about?
So anyway, it's pretty cool that you're being who you are, and you found someone that you can trust to have intimate conversations with. Intimacy isn't just doing the dance. Intimacy is
could say
having doing the hibbity jibbity.
Hibbity jibbity.
Sex, Chris.
Sex. I mean, that's a lot of the reasons why you get married, but it's really being in relationship with someone that you truly trust, that you can trust everything with, right? And then making a decision is like, okay, can I deal with this? Just like my wife, she's like, okay, these are the things that he comes with. I was in Alcoholics Anonymous when we started dating, and she's like, okay, can I deal with this? She's like, yeah, now I know I won't have an alcoholic for a husband.
There you go.
Because that's who we hung around with.
Yeah.
And so one more thing, let's wrap up with why Bayside College, seeing they sponsor us? No, they don't. They do not.
Please, no.
But we love
us
Bayside
scholarships.
College because they're ministering to young people in the Southwest area of Florida. Why'd you pick Bayside College?
Yeah. So when I was applying to schools, I told my parents I
They're the
applied
only
to-
ones who would take Will, but go
Yeah.
ahead.
I said I applied to a bunch of schools. I really applied to 2. I applied to Columbia International in South Carolina.
Oh, okay, wow.
It's a great
Bible college.
Yeah.
And then Bayside College because of the price as well too. But I think very similar types of school where they gave you experience, which is the main thing I was looking for. Is I wanted to learn theology, and when I come out of here, I want to have experience. So when I can get a job and be valuable to,
An asset. You're an asset.
exactly.
Yeah.
And even if you just become rich doing pools and partnering with your father-in-law in laundromats or becoming a pastor, the
Yeah.
fact is that if you don't have a foundation in Christ and in God, and you might as well. I'm going to a legacy. It's called Legacy Business Meeting thing.
Oh, yeah,
at
cool.
Bayside. I'm going tonight. I think they might be interviewing me to see if I'm going to go. So I'll have. I did shave.
Finally.
That's why you got the haircut.
I got a haircut.
Yeah.
I'm going to go hang around with all the business owners, but the foundation, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you're going there, for the foundation.
Yeah, the foundation of it. I think I've learned more spiritually than probably academically.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
Because
which is very
that's forever.
valuable.
That's forever.
That is forever.
When I went to fire school, as soon as I got out of fire school, we went to this fire station. They're like, okay, everything you learned in fire school, forget it. Now we're going to teach
Now we're
you
gonna
how to
do it.
Yeah.
So if you had something to say to our audience, and we're going to say they're all 21 years old, all you old people, just bear with us. What would you say to them that God has put on your heart as of today? As of right now, what's the word? And then you're going to do it too, as of this
boy.
conversation.
Oh.
I think your calling is much simpler than you think it is. And that burning desire, it's not heartburn. It's God has a plan for you, and there's something special about you, and it fits. You just have to keep pushing in. Don't worry about where you want to be, where other people are around you. That adversity, that fear that's around you, it's good. That means you're going the right step, and make sure you're with God.
Cool. That's freaking awesome.
That's the best. How do I top that?
Okay, how are you going to top that, Will?
Well, I don't know. When you trust in God, you will find things begin to come to the surface that you didn't want to address, and you have to tell the truth, and you have to be honest with yourself, and if you're not honest with yourself, how are you going to confess to the Lord all that's happening? I think when you are in right standing with God, it's going to hurt, and I think that's normal. And you have to be comfortable with that, because you're never going to get right. You're never going to be a righteous man unless you surrender yourself.
And it's never going to be perfect.
It's never going to be perfect. And that's going to happen every single day. That isn't like, and now I'm good.
Yeah.
That's a daily practice. You got to be vulnerable with God every day.
That's awesome. So what do you think, Chris? Well, I'm glad you asked.
What do you think, Chris? Chris?
I love a couple things that you said. Do what you love to do. I think, and Will and I have talked about this many a times.
Yeah.
Do what you love to do, and the whole world's going to push against you. But when you do what you love to do,
Yep.
you're walking and you're allowing God to do how He made you.
Yeah.
Your purpose. That's why we do this podcast. We love to do it. I mean, it's like, we're not getting rich doing this.
No, not quite.
Yeah, like when you guys probably started, you weren't like, oh, I don't know who's going to listen to this, but we're doing it because we love it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
Yeah, and we like hearing our own voice.
Yeah.
Which is why we wear headphones.
You said that, but then you also said strong-minded men, and I think women too. But me, the only thing I can be is a man. My wife is a strong-minded woman, and she's around other women. Women can minister to women, and men can minister to men.
Yeah.
And being a strong-minded man, I'd love to investigate that again.
Yeah,
down
sure.
the road.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was like really good. And then finally, take the risk. I think that I think at any age. So we do have a couple people that are like over 21 that are listening to this.
No.
Old heads.
Taking a
Old
risk.
school,
And
dude.
and people ask me all the time, why'd you buy the car wash? I'm like, I want to take a risk. I'm going to take a risk.
Yeah.
And
If you lose, you're back to square one again.
yeah, it's
But God's got me.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Go back forward.
what are you going to do? Sit around and watch Fox News for the rest of my life? What am
golf
I going
all
to do?
the time.
Hang out
Fox News
with
dad.
this guy?
This loser over here.
I'm going to get a job at the, but for young people, I think for everybody, is not being afraid to take a risk, and then be able to push into God like you've done. I mean, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
thank you
like
for-
so blessed.
Thank
this
you
is
for
cool.
having me here. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
it. I'd love to come back one day.
Absolutely
We'll let
not.
you bring your brother, and then we could make fun of him.
I think that's going to be more a comedic special than
Oh yeah,
it is,
we'll have to reserve that for special episode.
Or we have to bring your fiance's name was
Ellie.
Ellie.
Yeah,
We'll
bring
have to bring Ellie and find out the whole truth.
Yeah.
And then finally, one other thing. So, do you take new customers or?
I do take new customers.
Okay, so if you call, you can email us if you need a pool cleaned in the Venice area,
Yeah.
or anywhere from Bradenton to Venice.
Suncoast Pools of Minnesota.
Let's
Or
go.
Venice.
Okay.
Suncoast Pools of Venice as well, too.
Let's go.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming again,
Thank you, guys.
George. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for listening again. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Peace.